Hi folks, it's Zoe here with the EDGE network for new ministry and renewing ministries. I'm really excited. You will have previously seen a conversation I had with Alan about some of the work that's happening with the folks at Bridges and the work they're doing, thinking about poverty and marginalization in their community and the phenomenal work they're doing on the ground that's having real world impact. So I'm excited to welcome a number of folks from their team to us today. So I'll kind of turn it over to you folks, whoever feels like they want to jump in first. Welcome and introduction, and tell us a bit more about Bridges and the work that you folks are doing.
I'll go first. I'm Laura. A few years ago, I was a catalyst on a bridging team. That's our word for people who come to us from the low income side of the equation. And during the second year of my participation in Bridges, I was paid to train as a facilitator. And over the last year and a bit, I guess, I co-facilitated another bridging team with my friend Ralph. I can't really describe how much the experience enriches your life from, the mentor side or the catalyst side. People come away with more than when they got there.
So I'm Ralph, and I'll jump in. I've been with bridging teams since its inception. I was a mentor on the first bridging team, and Todd was one of the catalysts on that team. As Laura has just mentioned, she and I co-facilitated the third bridging team, which just wrapped up this past June. Bridging teams are a wonderful experience for everyone involved, both mentors, excuse me, and catalysts alike. There's so much learning that happens as a mentor. Although I had some experience in poverty at the time I was acting as a mentor, it was situational, and it certainly opened my eyes, the experience to what it's like to be in poverty and the challenges people face. I think I had some awareness before, but really not to the same extent. Bridging teams are, not only do they provide opportunities for catalysts to find their own way out of poverty, but also provides mentors with the insight that I'm referring to. But it's also the friendships that are formed. And there are some incredible friendships that continue to be forged. I continue to be friends with many of the people on the first bridging team. Sorry.
Yeah, Matt, I saw your hand wave there. Maybe we'll come to you and we'll come back to Ralph.
Sure. He was waving for me. So I'm Rebecca, and I was on the third bridging team as a catalyst or a low-income person. And that team just wrapped up, as Ralph said, pretty recently. And I guess it started in February of, it would have been last year, I guess. So yeah, I mean, the experience of being on a bridging team and everything that has come as a result of participating in that has just been amazing. My whole life is completely changed in like every area. I know that one of the things that's really big on the bridging teams is doing these like assessments of resources, and there are 11 essential resources for living, and all of mine went up drastically from when I started on the bridging team until the time halfway through the bridging team. I did it again, and everything had gone up, and then I did it at the end, and then I did it again, and every time I do it, all the scores keep going up. So I mean, my whole life has just gotten so much easier and so much less stressful, and happier. And yes, the relationships are amazing that have come out of that. I'm moving soon, and just I think like everybody who's offered to help me move, except for like my mom, has been people from Bridges. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, I'll go next. So I was a catalyst on the same bridging team. With Rebecca, facilitated by Laura and Ralph. And yeah, I was at the time, I was a catalyst experiencing situational poverty. I had lost my job and any source of income. And yeah, that was very difficult, and started feeling a lot of shame and not being able to connect with people, and just felt extremely isolated. It was also during the pandemic. So, I spent most of my time just in my apartment, not going out and doing anything or connecting with anyone, and didn't really know how to fix or do anything about the situation, and sort of lost hope. And I'm glad I became part of the bridging team when I did, because financially, emotionally, all sorts of those ways, things were starting to look quite bad. And then around at the time where I was started on the bridging team, things started to turn around. I started to find, community, find resources, people I could connect with, people who understood what it was like. Coming from a middle-class background, I found that it was very difficult to talk to, I guess, the typical middle-class person about the experience of poverty. Whereas on the bridging team, it's made up of mentors from middle class who get it and are willing to learn and willing to listen, and, have their ideas of poverty challenged, and people who have lived it, who can, for obvious reasons, relate to it. And that was extremely helpful in being able to just build community again, connect with people, open myself up to other people and be vulnerable. And I'm extremely grateful that I was a part of this process.
I guess I will go last. I am Todd, and as Ralph mentioned, I was on the very first bridging team with him. And I was kind of in a place where I needed change, and I just came to the bridging team, just to say, okay, well, I'll give this a try, see if it does anything. And it actually made a huge difference in my life. I was a person who didn't have any community besides a couple of family members. And I went there, and I had all these people who were giving me opportunities to speak my mind and say things that I didn't think I could say. And excuse me. It was a very life-changing thing. I would have to go that far. And and at the end of it, it changed my life so much that I decided that I wanted to stay with it to see if I could help what happened to me happen to someone else. And I co-facilitated the second bridging team, which Laura was a part of. And that was, I absolutely loved that. And then with my experience, I became a mentor on the third bridging team. So I've experienced all three of our positions in a bridging team. So that, and I just love to see the fact how these people have, had life-changing experiences and, seem to be moving forward with their lives. It was just a wonderful feeling for me.
Wonderful. Oh yeah, go ahead, Ralph.
I'm sorry, I was just going to jump back in. Sorry, that's the perils of having chewed on a dry cookie and not washing it down. I just wanted to add that Bridges Peterborough is now in the process of rolling out 3 new bridging teams in the new year. Just talk a little bit about the one that I'm involved in. And that is, it's going to be a specialized team. That is, the cohort of catalysts are going to be made up of individuals who were recently released from jail. And so we're going to be supporting those individuals as they attempt to re-enter society, and really to provide them with the tools they need in order to have a chance at a successful integration. And I was reminded by somebody not to use the term reintegration, because the difficulty for most people who've been to jail is that they never were integrated in the first place. So when we talk about reintegration, it's really a misnomer. And that's something really, I think that's significant to keep in mind. And I'm excited at that opportunity, and hope that we are able to get the funding and successfully roll it out in the new year. It's interesting because the federal government has passed legislation that's specifically designed to support programs that are aimed at ensuring a reduction of recidivism. And we'll see if the government actually puts up any, because they've talked about pilot projects. And so it'll be interesting to see if they come up with any monies to fund projects like this. We're trying to tap into it now. So thank you.
Well, if we're going to talk about upcoming bridging teams, I guess I forgot to take the time to mention that. So as it kind of got across through this conversation, that this process has just kept going forward in this way. With Todd, Todd was on a bridging team, that Laura was a catalyst, and Laura and Ralph facilitated a team that we were on. Rebecca and I are also planning on facilitating another bridging team, and have given it the sort of working name of Bridging Forward, kind of describing this process that's been happening since Bridges started, of people who facilitating teams and empowering people who were catalysts on teams to take this leadership role and keep this process going forward, and bringing that opportunity to be on a team to a new group of people. And I'm really glad to see that, and also see people from all of those teams at this, meeting in our little organization. So yeah, we're planning on facilitating another team. And just, keeping on with what Bridges has been doing.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, really exciting to hear about, I think, this lovely life cycle, it sounds like, of the ways that folks are in the Bridges community. And it's not just like a one-off experience of you come and do it and go. There's this real sense of this is building community. I'm oh, this is about relationship. This is about really being bonded and belonging in your community, which is phenomenal and so missing everywhere else. I'm for context, I'm in Alberta, and I'm wow, where is our Bridges team? We need one. So I think this is, I was going to ask this question about what's unexpected, but I think you've kind of answered that. So that my other question is what are the lessons, what pieces of Bridges might be broadly disseminated? Because I think some of the things you're talking about are not just isolated to Peterborough or Ontario. These are things that are happening in pockets all across Canada. So what are the pieces that might move out of your experience, or what do you know now that could support other folks who are thinking about these things and also wanting to respond to a community need?
I'm just going to jump in. Not particularly a surprise to me, but I think that one of the most important lessons of all this is that it really takes a village, that expression. People who are in poverty often find themselves, and we've heard, a little bit spoken about here, being really isolated. And the road out of poverty really requires community really requires a sense of belonging, and acceptance, and working collaboratively. And I think the bridging team really provides that. And so to me, that's the essential piece of, and you hit it on the head, Zoe, when you talked about this is creating community. This is creating community in a very, very wonderful way. So, yeah, I think that's to me is the important, one of the important lessons anyway.
For me, being part of a bridging team, the very unexpected thing was how valued I felt and how wonderful it was to have my voice heard. A big part of being a member of a bridging team is storytelling. At a certain phase of our gatherings, each person that's a member of the team gets a chance to tell their story and be heard, only their voice heard. And then the room gives feedback, which is active listening feedback. In other words, what I heard. There's no relating, judging, or fixing. So it's for those of us who have lived long in poverty or even short in poverty, it's a really new experience to have people, especially people from the middle class, pay attention to your voice and really understand what you say. And part of the feedback I got from one of the mentors in our bridging team, which will forever remain one of my treasured memories, was in the form of a song. So there are lots of unexpected joys in being part of a bridging team, and people really open up. So it's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for those insights, Laura and Ralph. I'm curious, like you've shared pieces of like the, coming up in January, there are some new cohorts that are coming together, and this sense of like thinking about other communities that will be brought in. What's kind of like the big picture hope for Bridges as you look a year or 2 years or 5 years into the future? Where do you see you folks moving? What things are you hopeful that you might be able to bring it more central into the work that you're doing?
We're currently working with a team from Fleming who are really awesome to create a website for a future social enterprise, which is pet care, employing people with low income. So these guys are like magnificently creating this wonderful website for us. And we have the opportunity as the company of conversation changers to offer change to other people who perhaps only have an hour's worth of energy or just would like to be with the dog for an hour a day, or, perhaps look after a small creature in their apartment, something like that. So down the road, that will employ at least one or two of us, and in terms of admin and management, and offer jobs to who knows how many people who are interested in doing that kind of work. So that is a project very close to my heart, and that's definitely on our future landscape.
So there's some other pieces too of how this has been built out, sort of outside of what I'm doing, but I know about it. So like Alan, I know you've spoken with Alan, you said, so Alan Smith-Reeve and Lynn Smith-Reeve are designing sort of a curriculum of sort of the learnings of what we found out along the way, and getting, folks to sign up for, training sessions and, over Zoom of just, people all over Canada. I know they went out to Calgary sometime recently. I feel like this would be better coming from them, knowing the specifics, but there has been a push to get sort of these lessons we've learned in our local community out to more people, and, attempting to get other people to undertake this process of, we've written a facilitation, or Bridges has written a facilitation manual of, how to do this sort of thing. And, the hopes is to have someone, pick that up and find out, like, how do I start this thing? How do I, get funding? How do I make this bridging team thing happen somewhere else. And that would, I think, be a huge big picture thing. And I think on a smaller level, having more people with experiences in poverty getting involved in some of this heavy sort of stuff, like for our bridging team, like Rebecca and I have taken a crack at writing grants and doing like this big sort of what I would call like middle class, or whatever you call it, work that isn't typically done. It's tend to be thought of as like overhead, like the costs that don't directly benefit people, but that kind of work at Bridges gets done by people who have lived experience in poverty and who are getting a living rate of pay for the work they do, which is outstanding.
I know a big focus that I have been wanting to bring forward, going forward with company conversation changes and Bridges, is working on community outreach. I feel like we're a young organization and we're small, and a lot of other organizations have never even heard of us, or a lot of people we meet out in the community have never heard of us because we're so small and young. So I really want to focus on trying to get out there more, network with people from other organizations, and help to facilitate relationships there, so that if we want to refer a catalyst, for example, to certain support for whatever issue they may be going through that we feel that we can't provide support for, we would be able to facilitate intakes to different organizations, and maybe other organizations could refer catalysts to us. Just think that piece is really important, and the piece about getting out on the streets and kind of like connecting with people and reaching a wider range of people, I think is one of the things that I think is really important. I feel like we do great work, but we help very few people, but we do amazing things for those people. And I just feel like if we could reach more people, if we could find a way to support more people, that would be great.
Yeah, really exciting what's on the forefront. I'm nearly in tears. For even more context, like my background is in social work, and I'm like, you have completely, in a 20-minute conversation, flipped my entire orientation to thinking about what it means to do social work or social service work, or what it means to like actually be in relationship with people. As we look at what it means to like build community, and this sense of like, how do we integrate folks into loving spaces from the very start. So I'm certainly in awe of the work that you are doing. And I'm almost at a loss for words. Like I'm so excited and feel really privileged to be able to sit in this space with all of you, which we'll come to a close really quick here. But this sort of, if folks want to be in touch, if folks want to know more about how they might get involved or how they might share more about the work that you're doing, where should we direct them?
Bridges Peterborough website would be a good starting point.
Yeah, that is a good starting point. It does have a form on there to get in contact with someone who, in this case, that would be the support at Bridges Peterborough email, which is managed by myself and another one of our friends, coworkers, Kat. That's a good start. I guess.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, we do have a YouTube channel that's it does have some pretty good quality videos on there. Good high quality, very low quantity, but what is there is good stuff. And that's just under Bridges Peterborough. We also do have a Facebook page, Instagram page, also under Bridges Peterborough.
Podcast.
Yeah. There's so many things that are just in the works. It's like I know about them and I forget they exist. Yeah, we have a podcast. And that's sort of Todd's thing. And I'm going to stop talking and let Todd talk.
Yeah, we've been putting out a podcast for about the last year and a half, 2 years, and it's a lot of it is just interviews with former people who have experienced the bridging team, and just how it has changed their mindset on dealing with the issue of poverty. And we have podcasts about just how people in poverty react to things, and how we think that it's, we think that it's things that people should know if they're unaware of it. So I find them fairly good, and I hope that everyone else would. So yeah, and they're just found on the web page at on Bridges Peterborough. So, and we have I think we have 12 of them at the moment. So it's I would say they're worth a listen if anyone wants to take a listen to them. So oh yeah, and also we have a monthly meeting. We call it the Neighbors Network, and it's a place where all of us can meet, and we talk about what's going on. We have people's experiences. It's similar to the podcast for the information, but it's a group meeting on Zoom. It's the first Wednesday of every month, and it actually, we have like I said, it's about what's going on with Bridges Peterborough, the Company of Conversation Changers, and how we are moving forward and doing everything that we do. And it's a great place to meet and talk about what is going on with us, or even just to talk about, if you have a question about poverty, if you just want to sit in and listen, or if you just want to talk to some people that might have a point of view that you'd like to understand. It's a great place to come. So I really enjoy it. And we used to do it in person, but obviously with COVID we have to do it online. But it has lost some of its vibe, but it's still amazing to get together every month and talk to people. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. So for folks who are tuning in and watching, I'll have links for the website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all below in the description box, and really encourage you to head over there and see directly the work that's happening. Laura, Ralph, Matt, Rebecca, Todd, I'll leave it open one more time. If there's anything else you really want to share, any piece of your story you felt was missed today that you'd like the audience to know about, and then we'll come to a close.
I'm going to jump in. I'm just going to say one other thing in terms of the lessons. We talk a lot about empowering people. And, I think you've heard from this little brief conversation that this is really an empowerment model. It's not sort of providing assistance and guidance and somebody from the front of the room telling people what they should be doing. It's people taking charge of their own lives and also taking charge of delivering the program, which is really very much part of what I consider to be an empowerment model. So thanks, Wayne.
I'd like to add that this is not a government program, although we do receive some of our grants from the government. It's not a government program, and sometimes that can be a really good thing. And I'd like to thank you for helping us get our voices out today.
Wonderful. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. To the 5 of you, really, really appreciate you taking some time to chat with me today, but even more grateful for the ways that you're moving in community. And really, I think, hopefully, honestly, setting a new standard of what it means to do this kind of work. I'm just completely in awe, and I'm hoping we will check back in a year or so to hear about how things are going and keep sharing the phenomenal work that is happening with you folks. Thank you so much for being with me today, and I look forward to seeing as things unfold.